Hi, I'm Shannon Steimel. I'm the Library Media Specialist and Tech Committee Chair at Live for Life Academy, a charter school in St. Louis, and I'm going to share for you now 20 Google hacks for the busy educator. This is a presentation that my colleague Alicia and I did together before that I'm going to share with you now. So let's get started. We're going to try over 20 hacks in hopefully just over 20 minutes. So the first thing we're going to talk about is hacking your Gmail. So there are a few things that you can do to make things quick and easy to organize. One thing you can do is to filter your Gmail on the fly. So you may already be familiar with creating filters and labels for those filtered messages to go into, but what you may not realize is you can actually filter the messages as they come in without having to go separately to your settings. I'll show you quickly what I'm talking about where you will find this. So if you're in your Gmail and you go into a piece of mail, you can go up here to More, and one of the things that it will let you do is to filter messages like this. And then it kind of tells you like what you want the filter to be. So this is actually going to filter based on having the words middle.liveforlifeacademy.org. So that may not be the filter that you meant. So you can change it around, but normally this does pretty well with figuring out the type of message that you want to filter. And then once you do that, you can filter it into a label over here, and it'll automatically be placed in there. Now you would have to pick skip the inbox in order for it to not also be in your inbox. It'll be in two places, but you can actually skip the inbox and have those messages go directly into their own label. So that same place that we just found filter on the fly is under the little more button is where the next couple of hacks you will go to as well. So one little quirky thing first though about your Gmail is that you can actually create aliases for your mail when you give out your email address. You can actually add in a symbol and letters between your username and the @ symbol, and Google will recognize it as being your address, but when the mail comes in, you can actually filter by it. So for instance, if I send out messages and I want to make sure to get a reply to them and I want to go back easily to a label that says need reply, then I could blind copy to myself and have a filter set up for this so that when I send that message that I need to check replies for later, it's there in the filter. Another way I've used this is add the plus sub when I sign up for things or subscribe to them, and then I can filter in those subscriptions into a special label as well. You can have emails become tasks is another option under the More button. So say you get an email from your principal that you need to take care of a certain thing by a certain date, then you can actually go to More, Add to Tasks, and it will actually add that email to your task list. You can also, there's another option with Boomerang that turbo tasks the tasks, which you can check out if you're interested here. Okay. So here's what happens when you add to the task. It'll actually add that related email and the link will be there. And then if you click the little arrow, it'll bring it up where you can set your deadline date for that email. Another thing you can do from that More button when you're in a message is you can mute conversations you don't care about. So we always get the birthday alerts, and nowadays people don't really respond to them too much, but when they first started doing that, people would hit reply all and everybody would see each individual birthday wish instead of sending it to the individual that it was for. And so if I didn't want to see all the subsequent messages, I could actually go to More and select mute, and I wouldn't get any more of those responses unless it was directly sent to me and not just to the reply all. So that's a quick way to mute those conversations that you don't care about. Not that I don't care about people's birthdays, I just don't need to see each individual message. It's also useful if you were in a group email and the conversation is diverged and it doesn't apply to you anymore, and you want to just leave the conversation that way. There's a cool thing that you can do to set up a preview pane where you can actually read your email from the main screen. It's kind of like how Outlook is, where you can preview the message ahead of time. And to do that, you have to go to the labs portion of your mail. And to get to that, it's under the settings wheel. So if we go back to our Gmail and go up to the little wheel with the settings, one of the choices is settings. And then across the top here, you'll see one of the choices is labs. And then once you click on labs, it'll show you where you can search for a particular lab. And you can see here the labs that I already have enabled, and one of them is preview pane. So another one of those options that's in labs is called canned responses. So you can actually set up responses to automatically send messages that you send a lot. So for instance, once I add the lab, if I'm back here in my mail and I get and I want to send out a message or a reply that I often send, then I can click this little down arrow over here, and one of my options is canned responses, and you can see I have one already for it's time to schedule a library visit, and I can also make up a new canned response here as well. Okay. So I want to insert that it's time to schedule a library visit. So I inserted it into the subject. You could also insert it to the message itself. So one last little fun thing is there's actually an email game that you can play called Email Game, and it will actually let you test out how quickly you can either respond to messages you've gotten, archive them, or skip them. So you can try it out if you're interested. There's the link. So now let's talk about a few hacks for the calendar. So one of the things that my colleague Alicia does is she actually uses the calendar as her plan book. And it's pretty cool because then, you know, she can go back to last year or last semester and see her timing for how she taught things, and she can even just copy and paste some of the details if she wants to. So what she does is she sets up her calendar, different calendars for her different classes, and then you can see she's got it color-coded for the sections. And then within each event itself, each day, she actually, in the description, writes out what they did that day. And so she does this for her own benefit, but she could actually share the calendar with students and parents as well if they wanted to have that information. And then another thing you can do with that is you could actually add attachments to the event with the assignments or the daily activities for that day. Now, that's been a little bit quirky since they went to the new calendar. I assume that they'll probably get that fixed at some point, but that's not, the sharing on that is not working perfectly right now. But I would check back. So another thing that you may not realize is that it's really easy to make calendar appointment slots just from a regular calendar event. So what you may not have noticed is that when you click on to make a new event is what the default is, but there's also an appointment slots choice. And so if you pick that, you can say the time slots that you want and add in details, and then it gives you a link that you can share out. So you could use this to schedule parent conferences, or maybe you're evaluating teachers and you want to meet with them, you could put that in. Or maybe you're just going to be conferencing with kids as a classroom teacher and you want to give them some slots of when they can sign up to conference with you when they'll be ready. If you want to get even more out of appointment slots, you can check out Calendly. It actually has a lot more options for scheduling, including the appointment slots. And the cool thing is it syncs with your Google Calendar. There are also a couple of extensions that you might be interested for Calendar. So an extension is something that's actually part of the Chrome browser. And so if you install the Google Calendar extension or Checker Plus, it actually allows you to be able to access your calendar right from the Chrome screen instead of having to go into the calendar link. And Checker Plus even has some other features too that you might be interested in. One last little fun fact about calendars, did you know that you can actually be in the Google search menu, and if you start a search with meet with, and then who you're meeting with and the times, it'll actually give you the first search result will come up as an event that you can then add to your calendar. So if you're, quick way to schedule a quick event with people. The next thing I'd like to talk to you about is Google Keep. Now, Keep is a lesser known Google product, but I find it very helpful. It's like a to-do list, and one of the really cool things about it is you can share individual notes with different people. So, say you're at a meeting and you type up a quick summary of what you guys agreed upon, then you can share with that person. Another thing is you can also share it to your Google Docs or to different things. And it's not just typed lists. You can also take pictures. You can even handwrite notes if you have like a phone or something. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with Keep. One of my favorite things that it does is you can actually set reminders to go off. And, a lot of things do that. But one of the things that Keep does is it actually has reminders by location. I am constantly thinking of things that I need to do at home when I'm at school or vice versa. So if I make a reminder by location that I need to turn in my receipt from the Dollar Tree when I get to school, then as long as I have the geolocation on, it's actually going to pop up a reminder on my phone to tell me that I need to turn in that receipt when I get near school. So if you're going to use Keep, I really suggest not just the desktop version, but actually getting it on your phone. It's really, really helpful. So these last tips that I'm going to be sharing are all to do with Google Drive and the different tools that you can use with Drive. So one quick, easy thing that you may not realize is you can actually star different documents in your Drive, and then starred is one of the categories. And so if you use certain documents frequently, if you star them, you can really quickly access them. And it's really easy to star them. There's actually a little star outline right next to the folder icon in any of your documents, and you can just click that and it goes into the star just like with your Gmail. A cool Chrome extension for Drive that you might like is Save to Google Drive. So if you go to the Chrome extension site and search for Save to Google Drive, there's several there. You want to pick the one that actually is just called Save to Google Drive. It looks like that on the screen. And then once you do that, you have to sign into Chrome and make sure that you're you. But once you do that, then if you find something you want to save to Google Drive, like a photo, you can just right click on it, and that's one of your options. And it even lets you rename it and decide exactly where you want to save it before you save it. Pretty cool. Did you know that Google Docs has voice typing? It's a new option that's under Tools. This can be great for working quickly if you want to get a lot of thoughts down. It also can be very helpful for students who have trouble with getting their thoughts down in writing but are pretty expressive, and so you can have them type with Google Docs as well. Now you have to teach them how to go back and make the corrections, because sometimes Google is going to mishear you, but it can be very helpful. One thing you might want to do is try flipping your comments when you're in Docs. So you may not know this, but if you copy and paste a URL into a comment box, it actually turns into a hot link. And so then you can quickly the kid can quickly link to a video that you've posted that relates to what you're trying to tell them. So instead of like trying to type out, okay, here's what you need to do to improve your conclusion, you could do a quick YouTube search and find a little video about it and then give it to them as a comment. It's a way to flip your writing lessons. If you want to find some really cool quick videos about grammar, I would try grammar.me. It's a great resource. If you are having your students research a topic and you're giving them choices and you don't want everyone picking the same choices, then you might like the forms add-on that's called Choice Eliminator. With Choice Eliminator, it actually lets you give them choices where once a choice is taken a certain amount of times, however many you specify, it's no longer available. Now, the only thing that you have to watch out for with this one is it doesn't work if everyone is trying to choose at once. It's better if you maybe have them come up a little at a time to pick their options. Or if you send it out where not everyone's going to respond at once. But the way to get add-ons is if you're in a form, you go to add-ons and then go to get add-ons, then you can search for Choice Eliminator, install it. And once you do that, when you go back to add-ons, you'll see it as a choice here. And then if you click start, it'll tell you what to do. Another great add-on that I like is for Sheets, and it helps you to make those form responses a lot more readable. So I like to use Formule for that, but there's also another one called Autocrat that's a little more complicated, but it lets you not only do emails, but also Google Docs. So if you're interested in more about this, you can watch the little video that kind of shows you how that works. Another cool Sheets add-on is called Roll Call. So if you use the same form to gather information repeatedly, so maybe you have a form that kids fill out as an exit slip or as some kind of formative assessment, then what you can do with roll call is, if you have a whole big list of responses, it's all the different kids, you can actually have it sorted so that each kid has their own sheet that has just their information on it. So that's a pretty cool one, and you can watch this video. We'll show you all about how to do that. So I've been mentioning add-ons. One thing I just want to point out is that the add-ons are different depending on what kind of Google Drive file you're using. So for instance, if you're in a document and you go to add-ons, there's going to be different document options versus if you're in a sheet or in a form. There's, some of them may overlap, but for the most part, it's going to be different add-ons for the different tools. So the only way to see the ones that are available for each of the type of files is to be in a blank file, or not blank, but in a file, and then go and get the add-ons. So you might want to just take some time to explore and see all the different add-ons that are out there that are available for the different types of documents. So something that's built right into Sheets that you may not know about is called Conditional Formatting. And you can click this link and learn more about it. But basically, if you go to Format, Conditional Formatting, it has all these really cool options for you, such as changing color of a cell based on whether it's empty or not, or it contains something. If you have a spreadsheet of data and you're trying to visualize something, it can be really helpful sometimes to use bold or italics, or change the color of the cell, and you can do that automatically without having to go through each cell individually with this conditional formatting. So that's a really cool tool. Let's talk a little bit about slides. So you might not know that slides can do more than just presentations. There's a really cool add-on for Pear Deck that will let you do get a lot of different feedback. And I can't explain this very well, but Eric Kurtz can. So if you click on this link, it'll actually go to his blog post that tells you some of the different things that Pear Deck can do to gather feedback while you're doing a presentation. Another thing you may not realize about slides is you can actually customize the page setup to be like a regular page and use it to create flyers and handouts with ease. You know, Google Docs is not that great for combining text and graphics, especially if you're trying to do a complicated flyer. So you can do pretty cool flyers and things to print with slides. So here's an example of a couple of things that Alicia created. She did a word search for, I think, an artist, and then she also made her garden club flyer, and she did both of these in slides just by changing the page setup to a custom thing that was for paper size. Google Draw is one of the lesser used products from Google, but I love it. And one of the things that I love about it is it can make complicated handouts a little easier to create. So a couple of years ago, I decided to do an Elf on the Shelf contest for the 6th graders. And I wanted to have this thing where, you know, I would circle certain letters and then that would become a message at the bottom using just those. I could not do this for the life of me on Google Docs. And then I thought, oh, I could do this on Draw, and then I can just insert it into my Google Doc. And so you can actually do that. You can insert a drawing into a Google Doc, and then it treats it like it's a picture, and so you can have it wrap the text or whatever. And then when you click it, it actually clicks into the drawing so that you can make edits. So this is a really easy way to liven up your handouts, especially those ones that are a little harder to create. Google Draw is also a great tool for checking for understanding. And here are a few different links that you can follow for pre-made graphic organizer templates. So there's a lot of different templates in here that you can use, and then you can have kids jump on. You can actually have 50 people at a time adding to a Google drawing, although let me tell you, the more people that get on there, the more confusing it can get. But I would take a look at those graphic organizers and see. You could also share them out as individual copies through Google Classroom and have each kid create their own. But it is a really cool way too to do a collaborative graphic organizer. So there you have it. Over 20 tips for hacking Google for the busy educator. I hope you've enjoyed these, and thank you so much for your time.